Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation, Easy, Efficient, Flexible, Prinect Production Live. Thanks for joining us. My name is Dawn Lindsay, and I'm the product manager for our Prinect suite of workflow products. And also with me today is our lead demonstrator and presenter, Sean White.
Hello, everyone.
Before we get started, just a quick technical note. On the right side of your screens, you should see your GoToWebinar panel. And you can maximize or minimize it as you prefer. But if at any time during the presentation you have a question, please submit them in the panel under the area that says questions up at the top. You can send them in at any time while we're doing the presentation, and then we'll collect them and answer them during our Q&A session at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So it's clear to us that you guys are dealing with complex challenges on a daily basis. And when we think about the challenges you're facing that arise from shorter runs, shorter throughput times, and rising costs, the first part of the solution is a smart, efficient printing press that can organize and produce print jobs independently. And this is the innovation that we call push-to-stop. But push-to-stop goes beyond the press. And in order to unleash the full potential of the smart print shop, you also have to think about your workflow. So why? According to a study, the areas upstream and downstream of the printing press are working near their capacity limit today. In contrast, the press room and CTP area have considerable spare capacity. So by implementing an integrated and comprehensive workflow, you can raise productivity in those areas to a new level, ensuring that the right data is in the right place at the right time. There is no one-size-fits-all solution, but with Prinect's modular approach, we're offering you the opportunity to map out and meet your individual requirements. During this presentation, we're going to use 4 examples to show you how Prinect Production Manager can help you do this and overcome today's daily challenges. So first, we're going to talk about the portal. You're already familiar with the fact that too often you don't have standardized file delivery or sign-off processes with your customers. So Sean's going to show us how Prinect can make customer and sales team integration really easy. Next, we'll talk about touchpoints. Another frequent challenge is having a high number of touchpoints, but a low level of transparency across the jobs you have running in production, as well as having numerous operations per job in production. Production Manager offers features for automating work and maintaining a production overview so that you know exactly what the status is. Third, we'll look into how Production Manager can bring standardization and automation to your press, reducing make-ready times and waste while optimizing consistency with more than just in-key presets. And finally, we'll come to the analysis stage. A lot of time and effort is invested in collecting and analyzing data that often doesn't reflect the core issues that really need attention. So we'll be demonstrating different comprehensive reporting options that can help you solve this problem. But before I hand it over to Sean, let me share some good news with you. So with Prinect Production Manager, you no longer have to purchase individual software modules. Instead, you subscribe to a smart production workflow for the whole production process. So everything from pre-press through offset and digital printing to post-press, and then you get billed on the basis of your produced volume. So the cost depends on your usage, not on features. And the volume is calculated by taking the total size of TIFFs that you generate, which are calculated in either square feet or square meters, depending on where you live. The TIFFs that are counted are generated when sending high-res output to a CTP device, for example. The subscription fee that you pay covers all remote software updates, as well as our hotline for troubleshooting, so your system stays up to date and current all the time, and you always have access to the latest technology as it's released. We initially configure the system tailored to your existing requirements, but if your needs change, perhaps you add operators, you decide you need more automation or advanced gang run functionality, you can adapt the configuration at any time without the high license fees. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Sean so he can give you a live presentation and show you how we can handle those 4 challenges.
All right, thanks, Dawn. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at these challenges by switching over to the production system. So I'm going to share my screen now. Be able to see that. We're going to first take a look at the portal. So the portal, I'll launch that here, is an area where you can at a glance see exactly what's happening in production by looking at these different areas. Now think for a moment the way your sales and support team works. Your customer representatives or your sales representatives need rapid status updates while interacting with their customers on the phone, email, or in person perhaps. At the same time, your staff needs clear and precise overview of all the jobs so that they can organize and work effectively within this workflow. So if I open, for instance, this area, I can see all of the jobs that are due within the next week. If we navigate further into one of those, you can see at what percentage is production complete, and some other areas of interest where we might be able to see in the upper right-hand corner where the customer or production approved the jobs. There were warnings inside the pre-flight, but the approval took place. In the middle here, we can see that according to this workflow task view, we're about 66% of the way complete. The blue bars allow us to see what's been done and what is yet to be done. So printing and sheet finishing have not been completed in this task. We can also see an overview of our page list and an icon that shows us our pre-flight report. So think about what a service rep or a customer rep might need to do here. Might relay this information where we've got low resolution images. Do you want us to go ahead with the job, or might you want to upload new artwork and so forth? So this is information that can be shared with the customers, whether it be the sales rep on site or, like we said, over the phone or email or something of that nature. We can also see jobs that might need artwork. Pending uploads, jobs that are due at a certain date that we're wanting or needing artwork, we can see at a glance here. And if the customer has uploaded artwork to us via an FTP or given to us on a thumb drive, or if we're at the customer site, we can simply upload via a convenient link. We can also see what jobs are in approval status but haven't been approved yet. So we can see individual pages, and when we go to approve these, we can see them very conveniently in a simulation mode where we're simulating how the booklet is going to take place and be finished. We can also see individual pages where the customer might want to see separations, where what might be black only on this particular page, we can turn that separation on or off. So you can approve the individual pages, you can approve the entire book from these views. So I'm not going to do that at this point because we are still in the mindset of we're a customer service representative or we're a sales representative. We will show you this approval process when we get into more customer hands-on. So at this point, maybe we could ask you, are you already using a portal or a web shop in your environment? If you could, just go ahead and select one or multiple selections there and submit. We'll gather the information and then share these results with you.
Okay, right now we have about half of the votes in, and the highest count is neither. Okay, so right now we have a lot of people who aren't using any type of online connection with their customers.
So a solution like this, would be, I think, very beneficial. I mean, think of all of the bottlenecks and the time that it takes to interact with your customers, and how something like this could benefit people by just simply reaching out to them in this way. There's a lot of customer retention and a connection to your customer using this type of portal. So now that leads us to our second challenge. We want to reduce manual touch points and create transparency in the workflow. So I'm going to move to a different dash and open up this area right here. So let's say, for instance, that we've received data for an order. We have two options here. We've got some files over here that have been provided to us by the customer or our design department. And what we can do is we can add these to an existing job. Well, that existing job might have come from our business manager. So the Prinect Business Manager, or MIS system, can feed our integration and then allow us the ability here in this portal view to upload artwork into an existing job. Maybe, again, that artwork came from a different area. Well, we can also create a job. So here, if I do take this artwork and drag it up, I'm going to enter in our information here for the job. Give it a name, a number, and a delivery quantity. Our product category here. Now, this is an important part of this job creation because if you think about what you do on a daily basis, think of the different products. And when you have multiple jobs per day or a majority of jobs that fit into a certain category, you might benefit from automating that type of product. So in this case, perhaps I do a lot of 8.5 by 11 self-cover books, so I have something to automate that process. I have certain standards that I might print, so the material quality here will choose our 80-pound mat. So simplifying this job creation using this wizard makes that seamless transfer into production. We'll enter our customer and our due date. Clicking OK confirms that this information is correct and now initiates a job inside of production. So we've created upfront information that then gets transferred into production without the necessity to rekey information downstream once it gets into that production. So I'll switch real quick into our production cockpit, and you can see that the job has already started and started processing and is already in production here. That entity that I've highlighted is the job that we just created. So again, I want to ask the audience, our participants here, how many orders would you say you process per day on average? Again, you could just be so kind to enter in one of those selections or one of the four groupings we have there. It'd be great.
Okay, right now we have the bulk are between, over half are between 16 and 30 jobs. And 1/3 is up to 15 jobs. So.
Okay. So I would imagine that the 16 to 30 jobs, probably a third, maybe a little bit less, would be the same type of product. Like I mentioned, in my case, you know, an 8.5 by 11 saddle stitch brochure. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you're locked into. This is what I've created as an example. So if you think, if you're, you know, a campaign shop where you do a lot of postcards, business cards, or flyers, or hardcover books, you know, something that isn't a self-cover, think of the majority, and then we can try and automate that. Taking what you typically do manually, step by step, job for job, and eliminating those by automating is certainly going to increase your efficiency. So we're back inside of the production system. What I'm highlighting here, as we saw before the poll came up, is the job that got created from that creation wizard. This view gives you a very high-level overview of the job itself. It tells you that the job is processing. It shows you a snapshot of the workflow status. These icons at a glance mean something. What's been done, what's planned, and so forth. You can see a due date, when it was modified, what the status is. We can customize this by seeing anything that's in idle or processing. The job status is active, per se. Maybe jobs that are suspended, jobs that are archived. Archiving is also something that's interesting in our workflow, is that we can push information out into the archive, but we still leave that job entity there, so we can search for the job and pull it back, retrieve it when necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and open that job and explain what we're seeing here on the screen. This top middle area, the workflow taskbar. These are the tasks that are implemented inside of our workflow, and where we are inside of the production is filled with this blue bar at the top. So we can see at a glance where we are. We've got our documents, our pages, and our in position already in place. The plan for the job also includes plating and printing the job. So our connected set of processing steps, as you'll be able to see here, our process network has already been established by the product that we created or we selected in that initial job creation. This means that as a pre-press operator, I didn't have to create the job, I didn't have to establish the plan for the job. These gray boxes show us or are detailing the instructions of how the file should flow through the workflow and what should be implemented. We're going to always start with pre-flatting, color management, and trapping. And then we move into proofing and plating and so forth. These boxes that are connected together are the sequences of events for the job, and how we connect them together automates the process. At this area right here we're actually waiting for the customer approval. That status is shown to us down here in the bottom area. We've got our original PDF, our production PDF, and our in position has already been imported with the pages applied. So at this point, we're waiting for these pages to be approved by the customer. We've already sent that approval out to our customer approval contact. And that's what we're going to take a look at now. If I navigate to my email, I'm the print buyer now. I'm the customer. I'm who you sent this proof to. I've received an email with a link that allows me to navigate to that approval process. This is the same scenario that you saw earlier. When we were looking at the Prinect portal as a customer service rep or a sales rep, we saw this exact view. However, the customer now that launched this preview didn't have to use a username or a login. We're securely in this particular project, focused on this one and this one only, so that we can approve either page by page or the entire book. So when I flip through and I'm satisfied with the results here and what I'm seeing, I'm simply going to click one of these buttons that allows me to accept or reject these pages. If there needed to be a change, I could reject the page and swap that out for a new page or new file. So I'll go ahead and accept this, and once that exception happens, then I can no longer edit this file. I can't go back and change my mind and say, no, I made a mistake, I didn't read it, I have to, now unapprove this. This is locked in, and because we're connected to the production environment, we can see back inside of our cockpit job that there is, and I'll just kind of highlight this for you. In every single page, we've got a approval that took place within the job. So our little icon that says smiley guy, that indicates the customer approved this, and we've got our status that's updating down at the bottom. Now, what's occurring? What is occurring is what we saw earlier, where this connected set of processing steps, the next chain of events or the next sequence is happening. And that's where we're passing off the information to our image setter to screen our 1-bit tips, but we're also building SIP data, JDF data that goes out to our connected press. So that brings us to our next topic, right? Eliminating the need for navigated printing, right? Where a press operator would take the job at the press and then input a bunch of manual information. Well, in our case, with your modern day Speedmaster press, we have the ability to connect directly to it and bring it to what can actually be what's called preset. right? We don't want to call it ink key presetting anymore. We want to call it preset data because there's a lot more than just ink key settings. The slide that you're seeing on the screen now is what if you had the Speedmaster press but not Prinect? What if you had some third party feeding that information? So here, information in the light blue is typically what would come from that third party scenario, your ink key presettings. Now the logistics of the press itself would apply that darker blue color. But when you have Prinect, when you have Production Manager in the mix, and we can actually send that data out with our integration system, we can fill in some gaps. These gaps that are now in green are things that come from assigning the quantity to the job and the job ticket. The sheet itself, the stock, has a huge influence on what you're seeing here that can be preset and not necessarily demanding the operator at the press console to input these things. So when we send our stock information down, it's got a size, it's got a thickness, it's got a grain direction. In our layout itself, we can actually include where the full lay is going to go, so we can preset that operator or drive side of the press. That also is very important. A lot of times an operator might not think of that, and we might guide to the wrong side based on and then influencing what happens down in post-press. So we have a lot of this stuff coming down into the press, eliminating those touch points for that press operator. This is a look at our modern day press center console at the press. And the areas that I mentioned, the quantity and the stock, are key here, and you can see where they're highlighted on the screen now or circled in that green. Otherwise, these are things that the operator would need to enter in manually. So here we are again, and we've run the press, right? We've produced the job at the press. With that communication that we send to the press, we can also capture additional pieces of data once that job is completed or finished. We could save our jobs back into the Prinect database, and therefore, upon repeat, a reprint of this job, Prinect, or the Production Manager, can resend all this repeat data. So information that didn't come over and it's not part of the presettings can now be captured and then resent or sent upon that reprint. Again, think of a very long make ready. I'm sure everybody's had something that's taken, you know, an hour, 2 hour long make ready because of a customer approval or a customized stock or certain dryer settings that needed to be tweaked. These can be captured so that that extra long make ready at one point won't be repeated downstream. So let me exit out of this. The data that gets sent to the press is JDF. Okay, what happens with JDF communication is we establish bidirectional communication. We can actually receive information back from the press directly and automatically. That's where I'm going to go into the cockpit, where you see I was in this job as a pre-press operator. Now I can switch to a different module within the cockpit and see what we call Analyze Point. And Analyze Point is where we're going to display reports from data that gets collected from the press automatically. My window into the print shop without having a window is what I call this screen. I can see all of my connected devices, and I can see exactly what's happening in real time up to the last minute on that press. So I can see that we're running in good production at 18,000 sheets per hour with a particular job loaded. We were asking for 42,000 sheets. We're 21,000 sheets in, and we're about 51% or 50% of the way complete. Other information that we can get here is shift-specific information. When we highlight a specific press and enter in a time frame that we wish to view, we can get information that shows us this, like this bar graph. So of the hour and 30 minutes that we're looking at here, how much was productive, how much was non-productive, and how much did we spend in make ready and good production? What was our overall average speed and our net speed per hour during this time frame? We did 64 plate changes in an hour and a half, 8 operations on our 8-color perfector, and we netted 12,700 sheets per hour. So your numbers start to drop or aren't as expected, you can start to understand a little bit more by maybe taking a look at a graphical view of that information and seeing where you might have had to change the perfector over, or you did unnecessary wash-ups, or there was an extra long make-ready. This view tells us a story about every job that's loaded, how fast we ran, how long we were in make-ready, how long did we spend in production, and what our counts were at the bottom graph. Productivity information can also come from these reports, for instance, OEE, overall equipment effectiveness. If we view that, we can actually see 3 indices that relate to a manufacturing process and our effectiveness on that device. The speed, time, and quality are shown here in the different colors, and you can see how closely we are to achieving a maximum. With that gray bar, that's our speed. We can't do any faster than 18,000 sheets per hour, and we're pretty much producing that. The red, our quality, shows us where our good sheet ratio is in relation to our total quantity, so we can see where areas of improvement can be made. Also, that black bar, how many hours in a day do you have to print? How many hours in the day are you actually on impression within jobs? On impression more often during the day, during a time frame, more efficiently run production environment. Now, if we want to look at the individual jobs, so every job that gets run has data accumulated. This graph looks very similar to the shift graph, but now we're inside of a specific job. And if you have a supported and installed color measurement device on your press, we can actually get quality information. So quality information can show you where your good sheet or your okay sheet was in relation to your color set at the press. Was it in tolerance or out of tolerance? And then when we run the production run, we can actually see, again, how close we were in relation to that okay sheet, and did that production run also meet the tolerance level? So here we've got 2 good-looking reports, a good okay sheet and a very, very good production run. And all this is coming from our impress control on our connected press. If we looked at the last report here, just to give you a synopsis, we're looking at a performance. How is my press performing? Make-ready time over the last 6 months by machine. So I'm comparing 1 machine or 3 machines against each other here, and I can see right off the bat that I've got some anomalies here. Pretty much status quo, under 10 minutes, for all presses, almost all months. But then I've got a couple blips here that call my attention. I need to know exactly what happened during that time frame, and maybe I would be able to understand a little bit more if it's the press or the operator by flipping the benchmark. So instead of benchmarking the machine, I might be able to benchmark the employee or the stock weight or the quantity and see exactly where the offense or where the offender is in this case. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to ask one more question of everyone. What kinds of data do you already analyze in your reports today?
Right now, the bulk is both types of data, so still got both coming in. But we'll give it another second. Yep, just under half. It's actually split. Under half are both types of data, and then production and business is about a quarter and about a third. So okay. It's a good mix.
Well, that's excellent news, because people are already doing some type of analytics. So I have to just kind of throw this out again. This is a reminder. The data that we're seeing here is not manual input data either. So in a lot of scenarios, what you're utilizing to do those analytics, you're relying on manual input. You got 5,000 quantity, of course you printed 5,000. In this case, because this data is coming back automatically from the press console based on procedures that the press operator is doing, we can't really fudge numbers or hide from time and so forth, because everything is accounted for based on what happens at the console. All right. Okay. So, Dawn, I think You want to
Yep, I'm
take the
gonna-
screen over and show us the last challenge that we have?
Okay, so this is kind of a continuation of what Sean's been talking about with the data collection and analysis. So what Sean went over with you was an overview of the production analytics that are available to you within an option called Analyze Point, which is part of Production Manager, okay? So now I'm going to introduce you to a new addition to the Prinect family, which is called Prinect Smart BI. And what's unique about Smart BI is it gives you the ability to analyze not just your production data, but also your business data, so you can answer questions like, what products make the highest margin? What customers have the most potential? What customers are at a higher risk? So how does it work? Smart BI is a cloud-based solution. It's a true SaaS model using Microsoft Power BI. There's actually two modules available, production and business. And the business module accesses data from Heidelberg's MIS solution, which is called Prinect Business Manager. And then the production module accesses data from the Production Manager workflow like Sean just showed you. So Smart BI can use both sources combined and link the data together, which gives you the ability to monitor your entire business process from customer contact to delivery and invoicing. In both modules, you have standard reports that are provided to you, so you can start using it right away. So this isn't a real high, it doesn't require a ton of training. It's very user-friendly. But then there's also the ability of editing and building your own reports, which are accessible either from a desktop computer, your laptop, tablet, smartphone, etc. But it's very easy with drag and drop fields to create custom reports. So who benefits from this? So the flexibility of Smart BI brings transparency to the whole company, but while providing all the areas in your shop the data they need to make informed business decisions. So with access to both business and production data, you can use it to develop strategies, to increase sales, drive new revenue, identify problem areas, optimize processes, and in turn improve the performance of your entire print shop. Okay, so we've finished talking about the 4 challenges that we deal with. So now we are looking for questions from the audience. So if you have any questions you want to ask, if you could type them into the question panel there, and we will go through them. Okay, so I do have one. I'm going to get started, Sean. Okay, the portal proof. What format is the customer proofing? So I assume what file format is the customer proofing?
So in that flipbook, what we saw with the flipbook and the page where we saw the separations, that's actually a rendered proof. It's not a PDF. So if you think about what we want to show our customer, we don't want to have them to rely on having Acrobat, or the overprint preview in Acrobat turned on. A lot of times it isn't, so they see inaccurate information. So what we're providing to them there is a rendered proof. Rendered is simply ripping. It's a rastered file that goes through the Adobe PDF print engine. It's hosted by your site and then pushed out to the customer via the portal.
Okay. Okay, so we have some questions that just came in also. Can Prinect integrate with a third-party imposition tool such as Ultimate Impo Strip?
So the imposition program, we have SignaStation that is our integrated imposition program. That's the Prinect solution. We can integrate with SignaStation in the fact that we can dynamically change and create these layouts. It's not to say that we would not be able to import JDS from other applications. That particular imposition program I'm not familiar with. However, I would say if you are interested, then we would certainly need to test that and get you that specific information. But it is a JDF layout that we are importing. So there is no, per se, integration, but there is maybe a possibility that the layout could be imported.
Okay. How to get files processed within Prinect sent out to digital copy printers with fiery rips?
So what we could do is we do a couple of different things here. We do have a digital print module, depending on the front end and what we're connecting to or what we're pushing to. We would typically push out a PDF to a third-party device, let's say, that might be running a front end like that. So we could push out a PDF. Now we've got to verify some versions that we're connecting to and so forth, but at the very least, we might not have any direct connection to the press itself or to the digital press, but we might just push out a imposed PDF to a certain sheet size with the layout or the prepared pages, therefore eliminating any version or direct connectivity issues. I can say that we connect directly to the versifier with our digital front end, so we can connect to that digital device directly without any issues.
Okay, we have another one in here. Any existing integrations with EPMS MIS?
So the integration with the MIS is other than the Prinect Business Manager, is always something that we have a conversation with our customers, that we catch the JDF coming in. The JDF has to meet certain specs, certain criteria, certain headers, and so forth. So there is no yes or no in this case, in these situations. So this is, for third-party MISs, the possibility is there as long as that JDF coming in meets the criteria that we need.
Okay. Have another one that's come in. How are the pages automatically assigned or placed into the imposition?
That's a question that I get often because it seems like magic, but it really depends on how the process is set up. So in my case, it's very simple. It's the order that the PDF is, pages 1 through 16, that's how it gets placed into the actual imposition. However, we can get very sophisticated, and if you have nomenclature in the PDF name that says what placeholders these pages are supposed to be placed at, then we can get very intricate with actually, placing the cover in just the cover spots, the text in the covers in the text spots, and so forth. So depending on the nomenclature of the PDF, we can get very intricate with that.
Okay. One of the questions that came up I can answer real quickly was regarding the presentation, if this will be available afterwards, and we are recording it, and so we will send a link to all of the attendees so that you can access the recording if you want to see it again or show it to someone else, okay? One other question, Sean, I'm not sure about this one. Can this integrate with Presario Web to Print? We use this for our Indigo department.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics there as well. Again, we receive the information. Mm-hmm. The data that comes off of a storefront is typically, a PDF coming with certain nomenclatures or a CSV file that has different headers and criteria within it. So again, we catch the information. So with that said, I would say that that's another thing that we would need to test. Just to see what's coming in, mm-hmm. and can you modify that file coming in? And most people can. So, a properly named PDF that has certain criteria, with standard naming, or a CSV file that has certain standards in it and so forth, should be able to come in, no problem. But again, we test that.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that's it for today. Excuse me. On behalf of myself and Sean, we want to thank all of you for joining today. We really do appreciate your time. If you need any additional information, please either contact your local account manager, if you know who that is, or you can email us at info@heidelberg.com, or you can also call us at 1-800-437-7388 and enter prompt 6, and then you'll be able to speak with someone who can get you whatever you need. Thank you very much. I hope everyone has a good afternoon.
Thank you.